are being recorded. Okay, perfect. Right, so just give everyone till 1 minute past 4, just to give people an opportunity if they've been teaching or if they've been in a lesson, if they're trying to find the link. We'll just wait until then. All right, we're at 1 minute past 4, so we'll start. So just a reminder, you've been recorded, and this is going to get sent out to everybody who signed up for the Twilight. So if you don't want to be on the recording, please turn off your camera now, and we'll get going. Okay, so welcome. You're quite lucky today because we've got a special guest. So for those of you who've been to every single Twilight, you obviously know I'm Tom, the UK and Ireland National Project Manager from F1 in Schools. If you haven't been to any of them yet, then obviously you'll know now that's who I am, and I'll talk you through this. We've got a series of these Twilights going on that are all recorded and will be accessible for people who signed up from that point of view. So we've also got Bella Griffiths here, and she is from Team Tamwin, and she's here on work experience, which is cool. And there she is, just in the top right there. She's competed in F1 in Schools. She'll probably tell you, I don't know, but quite a few times, and got to national finals a couple of times, which is really, really cool. So you're lucky that on today, when we're doing the actual Twilight, we're going to have a competitor's view as well in today's Twilight. It's going to work slightly different, this one, in compared to how the previous Twilights have worked, because previously I've actually had a folder to go through. We don't have any verbal presentations because we don't record them on site, so I haven't got one to show and stop and pause from that point of view. So we're just going to talk around verbal presentations, the scorecards, how to get the most out of it, and then brilliantly and luckily for me, Bella is here, and she's going to talk through her verbal presentation that she last did at the UK National Finals in July of 2023. So really relevant experience, and hopefully will be quite insightful for everybody who's watching this video. Quick bit of housekeeping. You are being recorded, as I mentioned. I've muted everyone's microphone because we've got over 100 people signed up. Not everybody's here, which is great. So we're just keeping it muted. If you do have questions, if you can put them in the chat and I'll address them at the end. But just a reminder, if you are taking part in this Twilight from a different country, brilliant. Thanks for turning up. Really appreciate it, especially with time differences, etc. However, some of your questions might be different in other countries. So please just bear in mind that you might need to ask a question to your ICC. But ask any questions in the chat, and I'm going to address those at the end of the session. I can't take any questions or queries on any scoring that you've got in a previous judging category, or if you're new to the competition, asking how many points you get for stuff. We're impartial, so I'm not going to be able to take questions or answer that. But if you do have any specific questions after this, just fire them my way on email, and I'll happily sort of take that. So before we get started, I'm trying to start every Twilight with a nice little video to get us all in the mood. So today's video is the UK National Finals highlights video from our January National Final in 2022. And that's where Nightingale and Eclipse and Firestorm, who competed at the World Finals in Singapore, that was the one that they competed in. And also Team Tamwin do feature in the video. So you'll see Bella at some point doing her T for Team Tamwin. I don't know if I did that right or not, but we'll have a look. So a quick video, and then we'll get straight on with the verbal presentation part of the CPD. All right, that was brilliant, and it was great to see Team Someone in there twice. Bella, I hope you weren't too cringed out by the fact that we put that on and you saw that. I love that video; it gives me goosebumps every time I go back to watch it. It was a great event. It was actually my first event as the project manager for the UK as well in person. So great little video. But why you're all here is your real presentation. So we're just going to take you through the steps here. Whether you're a teacher or a student, hopefully you'll be able to take something out of this Twilight session. And remember, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat so that I can address them at the end of the Twilight session. So what do you actually have to do? Entry class teams, development class, professional class teams, all of the verbal presentations at regional level are 5 minutes long. And then when you step up into the national final, they become a 10-minute presentation for professional class, 5 minutes for development class. You need to remember that you need a laptop or a device with a HDMI connection. That's really important. At our regionals and national events, we provide a HDMI connection, a TV and sound for you to present if you are presenting something, but you need to make sure you've got that laptop and you've got that HDMI connection to be able to hook up and present your work if you are doing a presentation. Always include your team name and number and school in your presentation, just to make sure the judges know that they've got the right team in front of them. That also does help as well. Okay, so what are you going to be judged on? So there's presentation technique. So how's your team come across during the presentation, when you're all talking, are you all involved, etc. The composition of your presentation. So what structure have you got? What content have you built into that? And again, Bella's going to have some lovely examples of what her team did in the UK national finals. And then obviously the actual subject matter is really important. So it's not just a fancy presentation with loads of animations all over it and you're kind of just talking about your journey. It's also about what is the content and in your presentation, is it useful to your project? Is it useful to the scorecards in terms of what you're doing? So they're the 3 main bullet points for what you will be wanting to include, or teachers what you are wanting to get over to your students when they are starting to do their verbal presentation. I think just at this point, I would say verbal presentation is probably one of the last things that you want to do. So once you've got your carrots made, you've done your design engineering portfolio, you've done your enterprise one, you've started planning your pit display or what's going on there, and your verbal presentation is basically overarching everything and it's pulling everything together in that 5-minute speech and presentation to your judges. So obviously we've got 2 separate scorecards. So if you're an entry class team, you're on slightly different scorecards to the development and professional team. So it's important to bear that in mind. So I'm just going to quickly talk through the entry class one, and there's a slight nuance with the research section, and then obviously we'll just quickly talk through the development and professional class scorecards as well. So hopefully you can see that the entry class scorecard basically is made up of 3 elements. So technique, content, and then research mission at the end, and that's highlighted red. I'll talk about that in a second. Each of the sections in technique and content, they're the main body of what you're going to be doing. They're out of 120 points, but then there's an extra additional 20 points for the research mission section that's built into your timetables if you're an entry class team. So in the technique section, it's about your team contribution. And what's really important about that is that every member of the team takes part. So we don't want any passive members. Whether you're a team of 3 or a team of 6, everybody needs to have some element. And you can do that in numerous different ways. You might have one person taking ownership of one slide, then another person taking ownership of another slide. But it's always nice if everybody takes ownership of everything and you all kind of work out a bit of a script for what you're doing. So it's important to build that in. It's fairly straightforward to score well in that section if everybody is taking part and it feels like everyone's quite authentic in terms of the planning for that section. Energy engagement is obviously really important when you're presenting. So we're trying to build in communication skills here. Hopefully you're getting some energy from our Twilight sessions, or you do when we're at the events with you guys, and we're trying to just mirror that for you guys in terms of what you're supposed to do. So no doubt it's really nerve-wracking for you to stand in front of professional people to present your ideas in your presentation, but it's about trying to be confident, bring that energy, and be really engaging with the judges. Look them in the eyes when you're talking to them. and really try to engage the judges in what you're doing. So try not to look down at a piece of paper or notes, for example, when you're sort of discussing with the judges what's in your presentation. And obviously, there's other bits and pieces in the scorecard there for that section, and it kind of like makes sense, but actually, it's important to really go through each line. And I think Bella does talk about this later, but it's really important that you have the scorecard with you at all times. So when you're planning your verbal presentation, have that scorecard in front of you so that you know what you're doing. Time and presentation is key. Basically, the judges won't stop you unless you're going too far over, but you get a 5-minute slot and judges are timing that on their mobile phones. You're going to score lower if you go well over the 5 minutes, or if you do like a minute and a half presentation, you're going to score lower from that kind of point. So you do need to practice it. You do need to time yourselves. You're not trying to get it bang on 5 minutes, because that's going to be virtually impossible, especially when you go in front of judges. I think one bit of advice is normally when you do your presentation in front of people, you are faster than when you are doing it and practice it on your own. So take some deep breaths, take your time, and deliver that content nice and slowly to the judges in terms of what you're doing. And obviously your presentation, the topics, hopefully they're going to flow easily for the audience to be able to follow what's on. So if you put in an essay on each slide, that's going to be really difficult for the judges to follow. And if you stand and read off the PowerPoint slide rather than looking to the judges, they might not be able to hear what you're talking about, or it might not be as easy to follow from that point of view. Okay, project management. Again, we've got our project management guidebook, which I talked about in the last webinar. So if you haven't seen that, you'll be able to get access to that very soon. I did send it out to people who didn't turn up as well, if you couldn't make it. But there's a project management guidebook. Use that to help and talk through how you planned out your project. So this is in your content. Who took part in your team? Why did they take part? What roles did you do? And how did you project manage it? And there's also like an evaluation section, really. It should be what went well, what went wrong, how could you improve it if you did it again next time, essentially in that project management area. So it might be that you said you were going to get your car manufactured by December, for example, but you didn't get it manufactured until January because of X, Y, and Z. So what did you do to mitigate that? They're all the important things that you can talk about in your project management. Did that have an impact on a different area of your competition? Collaboration, obviously, this is really key in your enterprise section, again, which is why I say do all the other bits first and then come to this. How have you collaborated with local industry or the local community or people within your school community is really key, and you're trying to really talk about that and showcase that in your verbal presentation. So, what were the learning outcomes of the links that you made, and what actually was the outcome of the actual thing that you've done, or how you worked with anyone and collaborated with anybody in industry or higher education. And learning experiences, this is not to be overlooked, because I think lots of people do overlook this. What have you learned in F1 in schools? It might be that you've learned to be confident in terms of standing in front of people and communicating. That's brilliant. Maybe you've learned some new CAD skills. Great, you can talk about those. So you're really trying to link to what it is that F1 in schools has done for you in terms of additional skills on top of your normal school curriculum, and how have you developed as a person taking part in F1 in schools, or what elements of your skill set of the team have improved by taking part, and also what are your future aspirations. They don't have to be you want to work in F1. It might be that you've got completely different. You might want to work in brand and marketing for any organization. Great. Well, have you learned new Photoshop and Illustrator skills? Have you learned how to use social media and Hootsuite and all those different bits and pieces? Have you engaged with other people? Build all those skills in. They're really, really important, and it definitely gets overlooked, the learning experience section. Remember, the 6 of you, or between 3 and 6 of you in each team, well, then make sure you talk about the 3 to 6 people and what skills you've all sort of developed, and all be involved. Okay, and this next bit is just entry class only, the research mission. When you get to your regional final, you'll get given a research mission document. Okay, and that looks like this. Hey, here it is. So basically, your research mission. This is just a sample of questions, but you get asked a sample of key questions that you've got to go and find out. Now, these questions are linked to F1 in schools. It's about you learning what F1 in schools is all about. So you need to go and find all the answers, and then you've got to hand these in to me. or to the reception team at the event, and then we can give them to the judges to make sure you get the points that you need. And you've also got some reflective questions. So the key questions you go and ask development and pro class teams. Reflective questions. You sit down as a team and you think about these questions, and you sort of put some notes on the actual sheet. So research question is key, and it's 20 extra points. So make sure you do it. It's built into your timetable if you're entry class, and it's an opportunity for you to find out more information. Okay, cool. Right, on to the development and professional class scorecard. It's very similar in terms of how it's built up of a technique, the composition, and the subject content. It's worth 160 points. It's 5 minutes. So, you've got a short, sharp presentation to try and cover everything. Your subject content is innovation and collaboration and F1 in schools learning experiences. So very similar to the entry class, apart from this innovation. So how have you been original? How have you innovated? What have you done differently? So for example, if we go to CHS Lightning again, they basically set up some STEM clubs, and they went and did some STEM clubs in local primary schools to teach them what F1 in schools is about, to expand STEM curriculum in their local area. That was one way that they could be original. So there's got to be tons of ways that you guys can think of to be innovative in your project. So really do think cleverly about that, and it's a way for you to be really creative to try and get some points off the judges and stand out from other people. Obviously, you've got your visuals, okay? So you're trying to be professional in your communication in terms of your PowerPoint, how you present it, not having too many words, using pictures. Your contribution is key, and your energy engagement is also key. You won't be surprised how many people come back and like, oh my God, these presentations were absolutely amazing. The energy was great, blah, blah, blah. Then after lunch, the energy wasn't as good in the afternoon. So even if you're a bit tired, you've got to just G yourselves up. You've got to get ready to really, really bring the energy in your presentation. That doesn't mean screaming and shouting or singing songs. It just means being confident, really sort of looking like you want to be there, looking like you enjoyed your experience, and that really does come across to the judges. The more energetic and engaging you are, the more likely you are to win the judges over from that point of view. Okay, on that particular line in the scorecard. You've got concept clarification. So again, everything that you present is understood in your explanations. So you need to practice your verbal presentation. That's key. You need to make sure that whoever you practice with can explain back to you if there was anything they didn't understand. You've got to break it all down. Imagine the judges don't know what F1 in schools is. Got to really think about how you explain that. And teachers can help you because they're presenting information 5 times, 6 times, 7 times a day to students. So make sure that you go and ask your teachers and you get help and support with that. And teachers, if you can, sit and watch theirs and give feedback on how they've broken down what they're talking about. That is absolutely A1 from that point of view. That time is key. Remember, make sure you've got that 5 minutes completely filled up, and that you've you're not going too far over, you're not too far under, you're around that 5 minute mark. And again, I've talked about the subject content. That's really, really key there. So there's no magic number of slides. It's not right. Do 2 slides or do 5 slides or do 10 slides. It's how many slides fits your journey and fits the content that you want in 5 minutes. Okay, so please bear that in mind. Okay, so we always get feedback from the judges. What do they say? As always, use the scorecard. Judges are told they can't give any points outside of the scorecard. So there's no point doing something in your presentation if it doesn't have anything to do with the scorecard. So please bear that in mind. Practice your presentation. Go and see your senior leadership team and go and ask the head teacher, can you sit and watch us do a presentation for 5 minutes at lunchtime and give us some feedback, please? And do it a few times. Pester as many people as possible to sit and listen to you, because the more the practice you get, the better you'll be, the better you'll do when you're in front of your judges. Allow everybody to contribute. It's sometimes quite tempting if you've got 1 or 2 really confident people and you're like, right, you can do it because you're really engaging. Remember on the scorecard what it says about everybody being and taking part. So even if that's your sort of weak skill, that's all right. Just try your best to take part. Try your best to be confident. Have notes if you need them to back you up. But again, it goes back to practice. The more you practice, the better you'll be when it gets to your actual go. Look at the judges when you're talking, if possible. Try not to look back at the presentation screen like that, because it's really off-putting, and also your voice is projecting in the wrong way. And also try not to have notes in front of you or looking down because it's quite unprofessional. But have notes there to back you up, that's fine. Bring props. Loads of people just go up, they stand in front and say, we have this really cool idea about this prototype. Then the judges can't really see it. How cool would it be if you're saying, oh, and this is the prototype, dump it on the desk in front of the judges so they can look at it while you're talking to them. You can point to parts on it. Whatever it is that you're talking about, maybe you can bring that to support your content. That's always gives a bit extra to your engagement. Do something different. Be different. Try and be different. Everybody stands up front. Everyone presents on a PowerPoint. How can you make yourselves be a little bit different? Make the judges remember you. Okay, key point. Be open to creative criticism. So if you're planning to go from regionals to nationals, or you're going to come back again next year, allow the judges to be able to say how they feel and give you that little bit of creative criticism so that next time you can come back and hopefully do a little bit better. And again, you'll all get feedback to develop and grow in the competition. So to make sure you use that feedback to try and improve. Don't change things drastically the next year. Just look at the areas on the scorecard where maybe you weren't as strong and just add those bits in so you get an overall better experience. All right, cool. So I've not left much time for Bella, but I'm going to hand over to Bella. As I mentioned, she's here on work experience this week, which is brilliant. She came in this morning. I said, right, do you want to help out? Yeah, this is Bella's been thrown at the deep end here, but she's going to give you an idea of what she did in her team. Hopefully, Bella, if you can do that in about 5 or 6 minutes, that'll be fantastic. So over to you, Bella.
Hi, I'm Bella from Team Tanwen, and I've competed in the national finals 3 times, twice as Tanwen. And yeah, this is Team Tanwen. So I'm going to give some tips on how to do a verbal presentation successfully. So yeah, these are some of our sponsors, and we have this at the beginning just to present like who we are and who we are associated with. So for scorecards, I would say if you're starting to make and write a presentation, well, on the scorecards, there's things you need to do throughout, and there's things that you should explain on separate slides, so the judges, it's like really clear to them when you're saying about what, so that you can get the most marks possible.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually, Bella. So, like, for example, when you're talking about your innovative section, make sure you actually use the term innovation, or we were innovative because we did this, this, and this, and just highlights what you did.
So in terms of F1 in schools learning experience, which is on the mark scheme, you want to explain how, like, you want to explain what F1 in schools has taught you, but not only like academically, but also in terms of growing as a person. So such as, I don't know, confidence, networking, determination, people skills, leadership, public speaking. So yeah, and then I also think you should share career aspirations that F1 schools have led you to. So yeah, so I think this is about explaining what you have done in F1 schools and how that has helped you grow. So if you're doing, I don't know, presenting something or something that would help with your public speaking skills. And I think it's all about just presenting that.
Right.
Then team identity is not actually on the scorecard. However, I think it's really important to present your team to the judges so they know who you are and what you stand for. So I think sharing a bit about this will be memorable for the judges, because it's all about making everything you do memorable. So you want to make a big impression. So you can share your branding schemes and ideas, merchandise, and then also your core values. So in terms of Tanwen, it would be Welsh culture, sustainability, and women in STEM. So make it interactive also. Show the pieces of merch. I don't know, hand it to them so they can have a look. Yeah, whatever it takes.
Okay.
And in terms of collaboration, you want to share examples of when you collaborated. However, you have to justify, like, so for example, so if you collaborated, say, with your sponsors, partnerships with other companies, other students, or like professionals in the industry, you want to ensure, like, you express how it helped you in the competition. Like, so say if they taught you a bit about marketing, how has that helped you? And like an outcome in the competition. So don't spend too much time like listing how much money they gave you, because it's not really helpful to them, because in this time you really want to justify what that company or that person has told you and how that has impacted your work, your like the competition in general. And yeah.
That's a really good point. I'm just going to jump in there, Bella, about the money. Like, it's not, this competition is about how much money you raise. So I think Bella raises a really good point that, yeah, how did you work with the sponsors, but not how much money they gave you. What else did they give you, or how did they support you, or whatever money they gave you, where did you put that resources and why did you put them there? So please just bear that in mind when you're out doing your enterprise, which we talked about last week, that even if you've got sponsorship in kind, so somebody helps with your CAD, for example, then where did you get those skills for CAD? How did they help you develop? And what was the outcome of that in your project?
And I think it's important to share your ROI like scheme just in terms of money, but don't spend too much time on it. It's just so that they know that you have strong communication, and like you will update your sponsors and keep your word.
And
Okay, then
ROI is return on investment. Just in case you don't know, it's in the project management guidebook. Sorry for jumping in, Bella.
next we have innovation. So this is all about originality, new ideas you've tried or are testing. Go into detail, but keep to the time limit, because it's only 5 minutes you have it in the regionals, so it's very short. So make sure you explain any concepts really clearly, because that is one thing that's on the marking scheme. Explain what research or networking or collaboration you've done to help develop your skills and ideas. Um, you should make the process kind of like a story, like explain your mistakes or learning curves. In terms of, say, CFD software, you can, to test aerodynamics, you can show what changes you've made in terms of the car based on that, and how it helped you develop.
Right.
And then final tips, I would say have the scorecard in front of you whilst you're writing the script, because the judges are only marking what's on the scorecard. So you have to make sure that you get everything in the 5 minutes. Then use images which help communicate your point. Visuals is on the mark scheme. You want to make sure they look professional and they actually help with what you're saying. And yeah, you want to ensure that every team member is participating equally. That's really important. And also make an impression. You want a strong beginning and a strong ending so you're memorable. Learn it off by heart to maximize the eye contact you have and engagement you have with the judges. Because if you're looking down at the thing, it's not really effective. And then put forward new interactive ideas to keep the judges engaged. This could be props, I don't know, dance moves, I don't know. And then lastly, just be energetic and have fun, because if you're having fun, the judges will enjoy it a lot more.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that, Bella. And I have to say, in terms of some of the things that are on there, I think there's not enough time to go through it. But even if we just went back to innovation, and you can see a picture just in the corner of some bamboo sticks, I do believe that Bella's team grew their own axles from bamboo. Is that right, Bella?
Yes, we tested them. We didn't actually race them in the competition, though, unfortunately.
Okay, so but still, it's all part of the journey, and that is innovation. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't actually get used. That's a really cool thing just to chuck in there. And obviously, Bella's downplays like the dance moves and stuff like that. But you did see even in our highlights video that they were captured doing the T. That's a really cool thing, and no doubt, Bella, did you do that in your presentation? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I saw you do it tons of times, to be quite honest, but it's brilliant. And actually, it's just memorable. I still remember that now. I can remember it back. It's part of the highlights video. It stood out. So I think, as Bella's saying, having a really strong start and a strong finish to make yourself memorable is really good advice. So massive thank you to Bella. I've thrown you in at the deep end here, but that was really engaging, and it was great to get these tips and advice. So hopefully, you guys can take something from that as well. All right, hints and tips just from myself. Again, use the scorecard. Try and be a bit different. Try and think of that hook or something that you can do, as Bella's mentioned, to make yourself stand out. Find experts to help with your content. Collaboration, make it as strong as possible, because it's really key and it shows off so many skills that you can get points for. Bring any supporting documents to the competition to share with the judges. Practice tons of times, but in front of other people, as I mentioned before. That is so vital because you will go faster. You will make mistakes. They will ask questions. They might not understand how you've explained something. So iron all those things out before you get in front of the judges at your regionals. Try to remember your lines. Try and memorize it as best as you can. Have notes there as a backup so that you feel confident, but try to remember your lines. Check, double check, and triple check absolutely everything in your PowerPoint. Don't include anything that's not on the scorecard, which is, as Bella mentioned, have the scorecard with you when you're writing your script because that'll help. Be open to share your work with others. Like Bella's stepped in here, she's brought all the stuff, she's talked through and shared advice. Be open to do that because that's how everybody can get better. That's how you can get better, but also other teams can get better by sharing with each other. And when you're at the competition, network with other people. Ask them about their presentation. How did it go? What did you do to prepare for it? What things did you include in it? Make sure you're chatting to the other teams and teachers in the same light. Make sure you network with the other teachers, find out what kind of things all the other people in the community are doing. Okay, now, I didn't see any questions come through, I don't think, which is good. I don't think there's probably too much to ask. It's really a communication task, to be fair, from that point of view. However, I will stay in the room for the next 10 minutes if anybody does want to stay and ask any questions. But what's next? Next Monday at 4 p.m, it's back to just me again, unfortunately. But it's our pit display, Twilight hints and tips on the pit display. We'll have some pictures on there. We'll have some advice on what you can and can't do. So if you haven't signed up to that, make sure you click on the link. If you have signed on to it, brilliant. I'll see you next week. And if you can't make it, there will be a video recording that we'll send out to everybody who has signed up and ticked that box. So if you don't have any more questions, it's a massive thank you from me and Bella. We really appreciate your time tonight. And we'll send out the recording and PowerPoint resources tomorrow to everybody who's taken part. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. As I say, I will stay in the room for the next 10 minutes, but if not, have a great week. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday or at a regional final very soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Emlyn. And exactly, well done, Bella. So look. Hi, is the assessment criteria? Yes, good question. I'm sorry, I can't see your first name, but Mr. Maru, basically, you can get the criteria from the website and you can get it in the downloads area. I'm going to stick a link in here for you now, but it's in the rules and regulations in the competition guidebook. Give me 1 second. Rules and regs. Here we go. Copy. Okay, that's the link to the rules and regulations. So if you go on that, you're looking for the entry class competition guidebook or the development and professional class competition guidebook, not the technical one. And in there, you'll find all of the scorecards that you can download and you can use to help you with your project. If you're not in the UK competition, there's slightly different nuances. So just bear that in mind and go to your country's site for anybody else who's left in here who's from a different country. You mentioned questions, we should be different and creative, but we sometimes hear from our teachers that we should stick to being professional. Yeah, that's a really good question, a really good point. Bella, I mean, I don't know, you might want to jump in here. I'll go first, but maybe you want to give any advice. But I think basically that you should be professional, but you're trying to have maybe some different content or trying to maybe top and tail your sort of presentation with something memorable. Well, what have you got for this, Bella? What do you do?
I think you can be fun and professional at the same time because, like, say, if you're just saying it and not really having much facial expressions or looking like you're having any fun or anything, it's not going to have any effect. And I think you really need to share like how you're feeling, make it an experience for them, like show them what you've been up to. And if you have some iconic dance moves, then I don't think that's unprofessional.
I think that's a good point. I think the term professional can be sort of misconstrued in terms of that means right a shirt and a tie and standing there, like you're in a job interview. But professional is basically like not swearing, using pleases and thank yous and all that kind of stuff, and presenting yourself properly, trying to use the correct terminology and language. So that's the professional element of it, but whilst trying to be fun. I hope that helps a little bit. Um, yeah, let's have a look. Ah, lovely. Thanks a lot, Angela. No problem. Thank you. It was a really good question. Okay. Just wondering if anyone else. So we've still got Miss Gilthalan, Miss Carter. We've got Harry and Mr. Maruth. If anyone else has any questions. Thanks, Miss Carter. Hopefully see you at an event sometime soon.